assertions that the family finds actionable.
The official story of Sandy Hook has more holes in it than Swiss cheese.
My gut tells me the White House, people controlling the governments were involved in this. So don't ever think the globalists that have hijacked this country wouldn't stage something like this. They kill little kids all day, every day. And it's not our government, it's the globalist. I mean, they're doing it. They're doing it. They're staging it.
Hi, right, this is part of the new series that I'm going to do, and it's either going to be Forensic Science Grad or Forensics Grad. I'll probably do it the short way of Forensics Grad talks and then a particular topic. I have one episode already banked, which is rape accusations. I have two here to go, one of which is a continuation of a video I've already done. And both of these I'm going to try and put in as much evidence as I can. That I've got slightly better editing software and I do have the potential to add things in, so I am going to do that whenever possible. Right, this episode is we're going to debunk some of the conspiracy theories surrounding Sandy Hook. Now, for those that don't know who I am or why I'm saying Forensics Grad or why I'm saying I can talk about this topic. Hi, my name is Simone. I am a forensic science graduate from the University of Central Lancashire here in the UK, and I graduated back in the early noughties, and it's something that I've kept abreast on, and it's something that I'd always had an interest in and have continued that interest since. As a result, the stuff I covered while I was studying includes scene examination, going through witness reports, going through crime scene reports, actually processing crime scenes, DNA, document examination, pulling apart a case to see if anything doesn't make sense, and so and so. I also studied forensic anthropology. I also studied forensic psychiatry. Sorry, psychology, not psychiatry. Forensic psychology. I also studied criminology, which is like the sociological aspect of crime. So how certain classes commit certain types of crimes, and how sometimes the society in which we're brought up determines what type of crimes. If you were going to commit a crime, what type of crime it would be. And as a result, I covered quite a wide range of things, including Nuremberg, decomposition, crime scene reports, serial killers, child abuse, and so on. Some of this stuff I can't believe I have to say because it's blatantly obvious. We all know that Alex Jones has, and several other people, have been perpetuating the claim that Sandy Hook was a false flag incident to provoke gun law changes so that gun laws can be restricted. Right. For those that aren't aware, Sandy Hook happened on December the 14th, 2012 in Newtown, Connecticut in the US, when 20-year-old Adam Lanza fatally shot 20 children between the age of 6 and 7 years old, as well as 6 adult staff members. Before driving to the school, he also shot and killed his mother at home. As first responders arrived at the school, Lanza committed suicide by shooting himself in the head. Those are the basics, and we're going to look at the conspiracy theories that surround the shooting. Now, most things that happen, especially in the US, there are conspiracy theories around it. There are conspiracy theories around 9/11. There are conspiracy theories around the Parkland shooting. There are the ones associated with Pulse nightclub. There are ones associated with any form, even things like Waco and what's the other one? Ruby Ridge, the Oklahoma bombing, all of it. There are conspiracy theories light all over the place. We don't have them as much in this country. We do have some, but not that many. So we're going to talk about the whole thing. Now, there are some instances that I haven't mentioned, such as the fact that there was apparently a practice run happening nearby at the time. Because even if there was a practice run happening nearby, it doesn't mean that the practice run or the staged shooting for training was Newtown. Right, so we have United States in government involvement. There is a claim that the attack was being used by politicians to push gun legislation. They also claim as part of this that Lanza was drugged and hypnotised by handlers to make him into a killing machine. But there's one big factor in this. If previous school shootings haven't triggered gun control change, why would this? Some people say because the victims are so young. Doesn't mean that it is going to make gun control a thing. And not only that, is if a person is hypnotised and drugged, then why would they do what they did? Because a lot of people don't realise that a lot of drugs that people think that can be used as a hypnotic are actually central nervous suppressants, so they're basically like that. There are also claims broadcasting. There are also some claims that were broadcast by an Iranian television program, which it's saying that it was an anti-Semitic. It's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory blaming Israeli death squads for the shooting. They also quoted Michael Harris, a former Republican candidate for the governor of Arizona, who made the Israeli death squad's claim. Harris has publicly been associated with neo-Nazi groups in the past. He's also been discredited by a lot of people, and there is no link between Adam Lanza and the Israeli death squads at all. There are claims of other conspirators that he wasn't on his own. Ben Swan, a Cincinnati news anchor for Fox affiliate, suggested on his YouTube channel that Adam Lanza was accompanied by another shooter. Now, part of this is due to the fact that when the initial news coverage were happening, somebody saw somebody running from the school, and it turns out that it was actually a family member of one of the kids in the school. But a lot of people, because they saw him running from the school, obviously he's running from the school because he sees somebody with a gun. Now, whether or not he should have run from the school is a different matter, but he ran from the school because he saw somebody with a gun. Whether it be cops or otherwise. He's hearing gunshots and then he sees somebody with a gun, whether it's a cop or not. He's running. That person was then handcuffed, put in a police car. Then once they spoke to him, they realised he had nothing to do with it, and they let him go. That's the thing, especially when it's just happening. The press literally grab on to anything that they can. And then they'll say, oh, there's 4 shooters. One person will say, oh, there's 4 shooters. Another person will say, oh, there was 8. Oh, there's 2. Oh, there's 1. Everybody gives you different information. One of the worst forms of evidence ever is eyewitness evidence, because you can have 2 people that experience the same situation and they have 2 different interpretations of it, and they will give you 2 different descriptions of what happened, and they will give you 2 different descriptions of the person, because the human mind is strange and does things weird. Ben Swan has also said the same about the Aurora shooting as well as the Wisconsin Sikh temple shooting. He's also claimed as many as 4 shooters were present. There is no credible evidence to back this up at all. The only evidence that they have was that there was 1 shooter. There's also the conspiracy surrounding the relationship to the Labor scandal. This comes from the shooter's family. Claims that Adam Lanza's father was an executive in the GE Energy Financial Services. Adam's father was to testify before the Senate Banking Committee with info on the Labor scandal. No such hearing were ever scheduled. Similar claims have been made about the father of James Holmes, which is the Aurora shooter. There is no evidence of this link at all, but people are latching onto it, but there's no evidence of it. There was also speculation that there was a second shooter, which was Adam's brother Ryan, but that's also been discredited because Ryan was somewhere completely different, and he had proof and he had witnesses. Timestamps on memorial sites. This is a big one, and this is one that Alex latched onto quite hard, and I'm going to explain what they are and why it's a lot of bull. Now, timestamps of memorial sites and fundraising sites and Facebook were created before or immediately after the date and time of the shooting, are therefore evidence that the incidents happened before, that the websites were created before the shooting actually happened. So, how did that happen? Now, timestamps are frequently incorrect, particularly on search engines. So when you type in the search engine, you'll sometimes get a date of when that website was created. And sometimes that's wrong, because the internet, because first of all, you've got the fact that the country has different time zones, the planet has different time zones. It's like here it's just after 2 o'clock. So that means in some places in the US it's midnight, or it's just after midnight. So, and in some timestamps are initially created and assigned to URLs that were created for one purpose pre-shooting, and then that website's been deleted and then or been repurposed into a new website for fundraisers and for memorial sites. Like, if I was to put this is an example a lot of people will understand. If I was to put a video up on YouTube and then leave it up for say 2 weeks and then say, oh no, I'll delete that video. I delete that video and then I keep a record of that URL. I can then, probably within a couple of days later, put that URL into my search bar and it will show me a video, because they've repurposed the URL for a different video. And it happens on sites like Facebook, it happens like sites on Twitter, it happens on any website and on every website. Then now we're getting to specific claims relating to Alex. In September of 2014, Jaws claimed that no one actually died at Sandy Hook Elementary because the uniform crime reports show no murders in Newtown for 2012, and that the victims were child actors that have since done other things. Now, first of all, the whole child actors and crisis actors, you have people that look alike. I will use as a perfect example. On YouTube, there's about 3 people that have a similar look to me. Now, I'm not saying they look identical to how I look, but they have a similar look to me. And you could say that about anybody. You could say that about my husband. You could say that about my best friend. There are people that look like each other, and even though there's no connection between them, it just happens that way. And this is also false because the Sandy Hook victims were included in the Connecticut statewide records under state police miscellaneous rather than Newtown statistics, because obviously the school shooting wasn't just a it was a big case. So now we also have another person who's, this guy really tried it and it really kicked him in the ass, which is James Tracy. He's a former professor of Florida Atlantic University, suggested that the shooting did not actually either occur, or it was occurred very differently than accounted in mainstream reports. He claims that there is political motives for a cover-up. Strongly criticised Patricia Lordia. I'm not 100% sure who she is, but I'm guessing she has something to do with Newtown. And he, after doing this, the university said what he says does not reflect the views of the university, etc., so on and so forth. He lost his tenure and he lost his job. Another thing people latch onto is changing story. Again, this is because when the press are looking at reporting it straight away, they are going off information given by witnesses, given by word of mouth. And then as the proper information starts coming through, because all this other information is already out there, there's the actual information that's actually of relevance gets clouded over by this false information that has been created. And the reason why that is because when something happens like this, the police's first job is not to tell the press, not to tell the public what's happening. The police's first job is to secure the scene, to try and get anybody that's still alive out, and then get everybody in that needs to process the scene so that the bodies can be removed as quickly as possible. So that then that way they can do the autopsies and then release the bodies to the family so then the children can be buried. The police's job initially has nothing to do with the media. The police's job is solely to do with the crime scene and making sure everybody's safe and secure. That's their job. Not to tell the newspapers what's going on, not to tell Fox News what's going on, because it's got nothing to do with Fox News. There were also claims that the victim was in a there was a picture taken of one of the victims with Obama. The picture was taken after the shooting, but it was one of the victims that supposedly died in the shooting. Now, a lot of people use this, and the thing is, the picture in question, if I can find it, I'll pop it in here. That little girl is wearing the dress of her sister that died during the shooting, because she wants to feel close to her, so she's wearing her dress, which was seen in previous pictures of the victim that were provided to the press. But because the people saw pictures of this girl wearing this dress and she's supposedly a victim, and then a girl that looks just like her is in a picture with Obama, they automatically assume, oh well, that's the victim that's supposedly dead but obviously isn't dead. It's like, no, it's your sister, because sisters do look alike. I'd use me and my mum as an example. We're splitting images of each other. People also claim cover-up because photos and autopsy reports have been heavily redacted, and some reports are not public knowledge. Right, especially in America, and I know we do it in this country as well, if something like this is to happens, the family of the victim then have the right to either withhold the autopsy results and photographs, or not withhold the autopsy results and photographs, right? And in some cases, and I'm looking to the side of me because of a non-fiction book I'm working on, I actually have the autopsy results and some of the autopsy pictures from that autopsy of a child. But in this case, the family clearly said they don't want the crime scene pictures of their children on the web, and they don't want the autopsy results of their children on the web, which is within their right. It is within their right to do so. It's within their right to say, I don't want my child's pictures of my child's dead body on the internet. I don't want pictures of my child's autopsy on the internet, or copies of my child's autopsy on the internet. You can file a report to try and get the autopsy results. But in this case, it is down to the family whether you get them, not the police and not the court. And because this specifically includes minors, and I mean children, then yeah, you're not likely to get them. You might get the autopsy results of the adults, but not children, because they are children. And let's talk about likely cause. Because people are saying, oh, well, it happened because he was drugged, or it happened because he was abused. The abuse might be true, but I don't know whether it happened at the school or not. The issues are probably mental health issues with Lanza. There was speculation that he was either autistic, he had ADHD, or he had Asperger's. Possible past trauma, entirely possible, we don't know. Just have to wait and see. He had a unhealthy gun obsession. There are pictures of him as young as 1 or 2 with a gun. His mother had a wide range of guns in the house that were registered to her, and I think those were the guns that were used. I do know there was speculation because one of the guns that was supposedly found with him was also found in the car. It's like, well, we don't know the full story of the evidence because a full list of the evidence hasn't been provided either, again because of privacy issues. So we don't know if there was 2 of those guns. When you think about things like this, you also have to think about the privacy of the victims and the victims' families. Yeah, everybody wants to know everything, but just because you want to know it doesn't mean you have a right to know it. And because people don't get this information, they automatically assume it's a conspiracy theory. No. So, changing story is because the press basically go off word of mouth to begin with, instead of waiting. The fact that certain reports aren't made available, again, that's due to privacy information and privacy laws. 3, the photo issue is a non-issue because it was the victim's sister wearing the victim's dress. Other people are just imposing their weird minds onto this situation when they have no right or cause to input their minds onto this situation because it's got nothing to do with them. And it's got nothing to do with Iran. It's got nothing to do with gun control at all. He also apparently had some form of paranoia because he didn't really have an online footprint, or rather he didn't have an online footprint that we're aware of. We don't know if the police have found information that they're not providing us, which they're allowed to do so. So yeah, for those that say, Alex Jones says that this didn't happen, bullshit. I'm telling you now, that's bullshit. At the end of the day, these poor kids were killed by an adult who, for some strange reason, thought it would be a good idea. And this adult was likely mentally ill and was likely pissed off. Now, I know there is a bit of miscommunication about his mum was apparently used to work for the school, but she didn't. Now, I don't know what that's about, whether she did work for the school in an unofficial capacity, so there was no records of her working at the school, or whether she'd volunteer for stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But there is a possibility that once upon a time she might have worked there. I don't know. But at the end of the day, Alex Jones saying that this never happened and perpetuating that ideology has caused the victims' families a lot of pain. And that is why they are suing him. There are these poor people who have lost their child have received death threats. Have been told that they are lying about their child, that their child never existed, and that they are lying about it for God knows what reason. And they find them wherever they go, which is why he's being sued. Now, here's this, a lot of people saying it, but he's well within his right to say it. Yeah, he's within his right to say it, and he's not responsible for the actions of others. Yes, he's not responsible for the actions of others, but he's still an asshole that has perpetuated this for a long time. And he's perpetuated a lot of these theories for a long time, and then when he gets cornered about it, he backtracks. Like he does about everything. Half of what comes out of his gob is bullshit. His fucking supplements are bullshit. The whole thing of Alex Jones is bullshit. He's an absolute arse. Now, do I think he should have lost his YouTube channel? I'm a bit on the edge about that, because while, yes, you can say what you want, when you actually say things like this, and they have real life consequences, then that is where it goes too far. I don't like death threats, and I know you shouldn't really hold people responsible for what their fans do. I get that, I'm not stupid. But you should also harbour within your fan base, like I do with you guys, that critical thinking is key. Don't just believe everything I say. I will provide you with links, you research what you want, you research what you need, and you research your heart out. If there's something I talk about that you think needs to be talked about, then you look it up, you go deep, you do a deep dive into it, by all means. But don't just believe anything that anybody says without thinking about it critically first, because that's what's given me a kick in the, that's what's caused me things to come back at me before. Now, Alex Jones to me seems like he's not fully there. He also comes across as somebody that's crying out for attention, but he's acting like he needs to be given attention. He's a weird egg, and he thinks everybody's out to get him. He's definitely a tinfoil hat kind of a guy, where he thinks everybody wants to kill him, everybody wants to end him and all that. It's like, no, Alex, you're just an absolute dick. Right. That's that. If you have other conspiracies about Sandy Hook, pop them down below and I'll look into them. If I need to, I'll do a part 2. But hopefully I've covered the majority of them. Like I say, some of the information is just incorrect information that's been given to the press from the beginning. Some of it is them misunderstanding things and getting things off people that don't have, that saw something but not the brain is still processing what they've seen, and you're asking them straight away, so they're a bit, and they're already traumatized, so they're just going to say whatever. You do need to, essentially, you do need to trust the authorities to a point, because of the plain simple fact is, you are losing. Yeah, I understand why some people don't trust the authorities, but you do have to trust the authorities to a level, because they're there to protect you. If, like I said, if you want to be critical thinker, fine, you research it. And if you think that I'm wrong, then that's fine. But these are my opinions, and this is coming from somebody that has the training to be able to do what they did at the crime scene. So with that being said, stay safe, be good, have fun, and I will see you very soon.